Welcome back. It's still the People's Court, and with joy I want to introduce to you the advocate of the court, the initiator and the promoter of movement of Voice for Democracy, and I'm talking about no other person than Mr. OLUCHUKWU. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, distinguished citizens. The People's Court is now in session. Distinguished citizens, don't forget that the People's Court is the people's forum for you to make demand on the system in our democratic process. The People's Court today has a focus. The focus is taken from the great philosopher of our time, the leader of all leaders, a great teacher, and the minister of God, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. It's centered on what he has to say about how to measure men and women in our society. That will give you an opportunity of knowing the psychological disposition of your leaders. And I will quote him: the ultimate measure of a man is not where he or she stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where she or he stands at times of challenge and controversy. Distinguished citizens, we live in a very challenging period. I will say no more, because you must understand that the fact that the strength of our oppressors is proportional to our own weakness in resisting him or her. You now have a free access to bring your complaint to the people. Distinguished citizens, we as a people in any democratic institution have the power, and this power resides in you. You must make contributions. I will use this singular opportunity to introduce to you a great leader, a great citizen of this country, a senior citizen, a man that I consider fit, that he has the strength of character to deal with the issues that is confronting our country. Distinguished citizens, I have the honor and pleasure to introduce the forum judge. My introduction of the forum judge is for him to make his opening remarks. The forum judge is no other person than a distinguished citizen in our community, a broadcaster, a lawyer, a people's man. I introduce to you Barrister Boniface Amalo. Sir, Mr. Foreign Judge, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, the initiator, Movers Nigeria, Ifeanyi Okonkwo, for the compliments and for the discretion. I never know I deserve this much. Thank you very much. The People's Court, the opening remark in the 9th episode of the People's Court, 31st August 2013. The title is Corruption: Obstacles to Nigerians' Growth and Development. Nigeria naturally is blessed with enormous natural and human resources, with an extensive land mass totaling 923,768 square kilometers, varied vegetational zone from the mangrove rainforest of the southern coast to the Sahel savanna grasslands of the north. The climate is clement, equatorial in the south, tropical at the center, and arid in the north. Nigeria is also the most populous black country south of the Sahara, with a population approximating to 160 million people, classified as youthful and growing at an annual rate of 3% per annum. Aside the human resource, Nigeria is equally endowed with solid minerals. Among them are coal, which Enugu is richly endowed with. The Enugu coal mine is that of underground. We have open cast mining in Kogi State, the Okaba mines. There's also iron ore deposits. There are limestone. There are lead, zinc, tin, and columbite. There are also adequate deposits of fossil fuel, the natural gas and crude oil. The latter having been discovered in commercial quantity at Olobiri in the present Bayelsa State in 1956. Notwithstanding these endowments in human and natural resources, development experts, economists, politicians, critical stakeholders agree that the wealth of the country is skewed in favor of few Nigerians. The experts believe, and rightly too, that the majority of the people wallow in a vicious cycle of poverty, disease, hunger, malnutrition, and living in squalors and ghettos in towns across the Federation. The question is, who or what is responsible for the obnoxious state of affairs in Nigeria? Is it the government? Is it the leadership in the public or private sector? Is it the lukewarm attitude of citizenry, or the hydra-headed monster called corruption? Leading voices across the length and breadth of Nigeria are of the view that corruption is the centerpiece of the underdevelopment in Nigeria, the rot in our body politics, the stagnation in the economic growth and development in Nigeria. Among these leading voices are the ordained men of God. Bishop Emmanuel OLUCHUKWU of the Anglican Diocese of Enugu, in his charge at a recent synod in Enugu, blamed poverty in Nigeria on corruption. Corrupt practices in the country are also giving the Nigerian Bar Association a sleepless night. NBA's immediate past president, Joseph Daudu, SAN, had accused corrupt lawyers and judges in Nigeria of destroying the third arm of government, the judiciary. Even the former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, whose effort at fighting corruption saw the establishment of the anti-graft institutions, ICPC and EFCC, seems to be giving up on the war against corruption. At the 100th International Labour Conference in Geneva, Switzerland, the former president stated unequivocally that the federal government lacks the political will to deal with the corruption in Nigeria. Therefore, seen from whatever perspectives, corruption in Nigeria has eaten deeply and settled in all sectors of the economy and the social fabrics of our national life. In individuals, in households, in firms, and in government, the invisible hands of corruption play a negative role in retarding the progress, welfare, and living standard of Nigerians. What is to be done? What is the way out of corruption and corrupt practices in Nigeria? We must accept ad initio that the war against corruption is not insurmountable. This fight requires a total reorientation and the emphasis on the urge for material wealth by Nigerians. It's also a war that all must join hands. The fight is not for ICPC, EFCC, or the governments alone. The federal government must also consider as a matter of urgent national importance the merger of ICPC and EFCC. This will make for organizational efficiency, effectiveness, and climate, and eliminate duplication of functions. There should be also be the political will on part of the federal government to adequately fund the new anti-graft agency and the freedom to operate without interference. The federal government should also refocus her development strategy, that is, the transformation agenda, by concentrating on the three critical sectors of agriculture, education, and power infrastructure. Emphasis in agricultural mechanization should be massive to create employment for the army of youth unemployment, as well as replacing the aging men and women who currently produce the staple foods we consume. Education is a vital sector if the nation must meet the demands of manpower needs of an emerging economic power in the year 2020. Without much of natural resources, human capital is a great asset in both Israel and Japan. The federal government can afford the 26 to 27% UNESCO recommended budgetary allocation to the education sector. Sustained transformation in power and social infrastructure investment will free the private sector, and in particular the small and medium enterprises, as the engine of resource allocation in terms of what to produce, how to produce, and distribution at a fair and competitive prices. Finally, the fight against corruption will be won and sustained when Nigerians wake up from their slumber. A proactive citizenry will articulate as a demand from the government and before the court of the land those provisions in Chapter 2 of 1999 Constitution as amended. You know, that provision deals on fundamental principles of state policy, okay, and those economic and social rights that Nigerians should aspire for and that is attainable within the limited resources of any nation. It is by so doing that the citizenry will hold the three tiers of government responsible when they fail to provide education, utilities, housing, and the economic means of livelihood as required by the social contract between the government and the governed. Proactive judges in our courts, following the golden path of the retired Supreme Court juries, Chukwudi Oputa, will give judgment to legitimate demands of the people pleaded in their courts. Forum advocate.
Thank you.
I rest my case.
Thank you, the forum judge. I'm going away with one issue. The forum judge has told us that we should be charged, as the Igbo say it, Okadeli Fonye Mwanya.
Okay.
I'm using this single opportunity to call on all citizens of Nigeria to wake up and take the power that is in our hands. The forum judge, in his opening remark, has told us that we are responsible for what is happening to us in Nigeria. And we use this opportunity to bring the petition for the day. This public petition for the day is the platform upon which we will find out if Nigerians are ready to fight corruption, or they are waiting for EFCC, or those people who are corrupt to come and prosecute themselves. Distinguished citizens, the petition today, because the people are still sleeping, they are not submitting their petition through our emails or coming into our office or sending them by phone, by text messages, anything that bothers you. The petition today is from Movers Nigeria, and the petition is the issue that the forum judge have decided to nail this morning. The question is simple. Considering the underdevelopment in our society and the threat to our continued survival in Nigeria due to the fact that Nigerian citizens support and aid corruption knowingly or unknowingly, whether you will support Citizens Vanguard to publicly confront and expose corrupt citizens in our community, their assets, interests, and collaborators through the People's Court to put an end to our collective suffering. Distinguished citizens, I will read the question again because you are the judge. The question is, considering the underdevelopment in our society, our children are at home, the university students are at home because of corruption, and the threat to our continued survival in Nigeria, your children don't have a job, there is no medical record anywhere by any Nigerian in any hospital except you go to India. Nigerian citizens, do you support to use the People's Court to bring out the names and the assets of those who have kept us down? Because we, the citizens, have been aiding and abetting corruption. Before I go to rest to allow you to participate, I will call upon the forum judge again to give his verdict on this critical issue that is agitating the mind of movers Nigeria on corruption. Forum judge, sir, tell the people how your mind is working on the issue of corruption.
Thank you very much. Corruption and corrupt practices in the country is a hydra-headed monster. In my open remarks, I had already hinted that it has eaten deeply into our social fabric. It is in all of us, it is on all sectors and facets of our private and national life. My attitude to it remains the same yesterday, today, tomorrow, and in the future. All hands must be on deck if we will salvage the country from the bottomless pit that we have found ourselves on this issue of corruption. Forum advocates, you will agree with me equally that part of what the People's Court is doing or trying to do is massive sensitization through the greatest means of communication in the society today, radio and television, so that our people will be aware of their rights. Our people will be aware of their contributions and the effort that ndị Igbo si anyịkọta mamịrị ọnụ ọgbọ ofufu ọgụ a na-anụ maka corruption and corrupt practices abụrụsoro ọsọ maka ndị movers Nigeria. If I na-ekwusie ike and otu aka obi m dị is that let Nigerians join the vanguard, but charity begins at home. Since movers Nigeria are taking off from the coast city, let us see the citizens and people of residents of Enugu State join hands by bringing us petition, join hands by fighting corruption in all nooks and corners, because it is there in all sectors of our life. Is it at the school? Is it at the primary school? Is it at the workplace? In all places there are elements of corruption, and we cannot say we will ignore it. We will not say it must continue to live with us, when in actual fact it retards our development, when in actual fact it diverts our resources to pockets of the few people, when in actual fact the resources that should move the country, that should develop us, that should grow our GDP, that should grow our industry, that should grow our education sector. I did mention in my opening remarks about what should be the expected budgetary allocation to the education sector in terms of UNESCO recommendation. Why do we send our children to nearby Ghana for education? The trend now is even to Benin Republic, whereas we can boast of over 120 tertiary institutions in the country today. What is the bone of contention in ASU strike? because of underfunding of the education sector, particularly the tertiary institution. Because when money is not deployed for research, how do we move ahead? In my opening remark, I also did state, and unequivocally too, that Japan and Israel cannot be said to be well endowed by nature as Nigeria is endowed from south to the north, from west to the east. We are endowed in human resources, we are endowed with mineral resources. Have we harnessed it to the advantage of our populace? Corruption is preventing us. And we say we cannot leave this like that. It cannot be business as usual. And that is why Movers Nigeria, by your own humble initiative, it tries to make a change. And change is the greatest thing that people will not want to see happen, because it will challenge the status quo, because it will challenge their lackadaisical attitude of life and the usual work, trying to cut corners and get it by foul of fair means. That is the implications of corruption. We cannot leave it lying low.
Thank you, the forum judge. In essence, I'm going away with one issue, that we the people have decided to condone this virus of corruption. We know those who are building mansions in our neighborhood. We know those who are buying expensive cars. We know those who are living a life beyond their means, and we have kept quiet. You go to church on Sunday and you pray. The power to bring change is in our hands. I will say no more. I will call on the presenter to bring in the jury and let them see if we will fight corruption by making sure we expose those who have held us responsible down by their own acts and appropriating our public welfare to their own families,
their own acts and omissions.
Yes, sir. So the presenter, please, could you call
introduce once again the forum advocate, Mr. Ifeanyichukwu Okonkwo, so that the case can begin.
Distinguished citizens, the People's Court hearing is now in full session. Citizens, the claim before the People's Court in this 9th episode is a case between Mr. ABIA Golden OLUCHUKWU claiming against Mr. CHIJOKE NNEJI alias Magic Movies as defendant. The citizen that brought the petition against Mr. CHIJOKE NNEJI Magic is Mr. ABIA Golden OLUCHUKWU. He brought his complaint. The defendant, Mr. CHIJOKE NNEJI alias Magic Movies, was duly served through NIPOS courier service on Monday, 29 July 2013. The facts of the claim as follows. My name is Mr. ABIA Golden OLUCHUKWU, the MD and Principal Consultant of Digigold Technical Services Limited, with our head office at number 37B Kenneth Road, Okonano, Enugu. In April 2013, I was connected to Mr. CHIJOKE NNEJI Magic Movies by Mr. Callistus Nnamani for installation of CCTV and intercom for his new hotel project situated at Geriki, Okonano. Mr. CHIJOKE NNEJI alias Magic Movies procured all the necessary materials, and we bargained for the labor at 120,000 naira, and the CCTV 80,000 naira for intercom, and the total bill of charge was 200,000 naira. I was paid a total of 160,000 naira as the work progressed, and the balance of 40,000 he said he will pay on completion. I was to deliver the job on the 15th day of June 2013. And on that day, I sent my worker, Mr. David Eleke, to the site, and we joined him later. Around 2 p.m., I came to the site to finish the work. Mr. Chijoke, on sighting me, started shouting. He was so annoyed, and I was trying to explain to him that the work will finish today. That is on the 15th day of June 2013. He slapped me so hard that I fell on the ground, and he smashed my camera to pieces with his leg. This happened before Cletus Nnamani, the man that connected us, and David Eleke, my worker. When I recovered from the slap, I got up and left the site. On 17th day of June 2013, that is a Monday, I went back to the site and finished my work, which he tested and confirmed in the presence of Cletus Nnamani, the man who connected them, and David Eleke, my own staff. From that day, he refused to pay me my balance of 40,000, and he even threatened to deal with me if I ever asked him to pay him again. And my 16 megapixel Sony digital camera with 8 gig Sony memory card were all destroyed. The claimant in this petition before the court, Mr. ABIA Golden OLUCHUKWU, is asking this court through you for the following: that Magic Movies Mr. CHIJOKE NNEJI should pay me my balance of 40,000, replace my Sony camera he smashed worth 40,000, pay for the cost of lost job stored in the smashed camera, ranging from funeral ceremonies I stored, child dedication, family Thanksgiving services, naming ceremonies, wedding programs, and documentation of projects executed by my company, which are all valued over 143,000. And also, he should compensate me for the job I am losing because of the damaged camera. He did not claim for the assault by this big man. When we sent this petition by courier to the big man, CHIJOKE NNEJI, he treated the petition with impunity. He did not respond because he's a big man. Nothing will ever happen to him. He knows every security operative in this country, and his money can protect him. The jury, this is the case of the claimant, and I am humbled to call on the forum judge who had the privilege or have studied the facts of this case to give his judgment before the jury will come in to affirm or disagree with the judgment. Distinguished forum judge, sir, your judgment, sir.
Thank you very much, and I very much recognize the simple facts of this case. One is contract for employment, because ABIA OLUCHUKWU is an independent contractor, as opposed to contract of employment that you see in a typical ministry or public service. That distinction has to be made. Secondly, the claimant, Mr. OLUCHUKWU, are within the terms of their contract, and that is to say, the time of delivery, the time of commencement, he is still within that period expected of him to deliver the job. Work started in April to be completed on 15th of July. The implication is that until midnight of that 15th of July, he wouldn't say that the independent contractor has defaulted in the execution and completion of the job. He equally sent his worker, who is directly responsible to him, Mr. Leke, to the site, and he was there by 2. Instead of the defendant allowing him to do his job, he assaulted him, though he's not claiming for the assault. So the issue here is technically a civil wrong of thought. And when he was served and duly served, he ignored the services of the court. And the implication is obvious in our legal system. When you are charged with default of appearance, the implication for the claimant is for you to request for judgment, and that judgment is delivered by me on the following terms. 1, that Mr. OLUCHUKWU ABIA should be paid his outstanding bill of 40,000 naira. He should equally be paid cost of his camera damage. He equally be paid cost of the work stored in his digital facilities, totaling 223,000 naira. That is on issue of specific damages he suffered. Also, on the job loss since the incident, it was computed for the 3 days of 3 months of April, May and June 2013 at an estimate of 30,000 naira per day, per month, and that totals 90,000 naira. On the whole, the claimant, Mr. ABIA Godin OLUCHUKWU, is awarded 313,000 naira as specific and general damages as a result of the work executed and the damages he suffered from the defendant, who equally ignored the services of the court giving him. So the judgment is based on default of appearance.
Thank you, the forum judge. I will now call in the jury through the presenter. Presenter, call in the jury and let us see how their public petition.
Thank you, the forum advocate. And I must say that we are satisfied with the number of responses that came in today's edition from far and near. It means that what the Movers Nigeria is doing down here is catching up gradually. With respect to the petition, I think it is right that Mr. ABIA Godin Onyike got the judgment, and also that he took the path of law by going to the court. He was seriously assaulted, and most of you from the jury did observe that he should have been reported to the police, and it's not yet over because criminal proceeding has no time limit. You cannot say it is time bound. That course of action, the movers will advise him to pursue. With respect to the verdict, you can see it is a unanimous verdict between what you, the jury, said and what my humble self as the forum judge for today has been able to come up with. It means that our minds are working together. It means that what Ifeanyi Okonkwo has initiated will go places and will go far and wide. It equally means that if you don't make a demand, the court of the land will not give you justice. You have to come up, you have to complain, you have to seek that redress before the competent court of the land. I must also I must also say that the whole issue of corruption in our society is giving all of us sleepless nights. We are the Movers Nigeria, and you out there, considering the underdevelopment in our society and the threat to our continued survival in Nigeria due to the fact that Nigerian citizens support and aid and abet corruption, knowingly or unknowingly. Whether you support citizens, vanguard to publicly confront and expose corrupt citizens in our community. Their assets, their interests, their money in banks overseas, in the Swiss bank and the rest of them, come up to People's Court, and we ensure that we facilitate it. We ensure that the path of justice is a continuous process. We ensure that our effort down here is being appreciated by your continued cooperation, and all hands being on deck. The fight cannot be done by one man alone. Thank you. Thank you.
That is the judgment both in the public petition and the case trial. Remember that the radio,
the free radio, that we have to give out. We are going to give one radio for the contribution of a very senior citizen and the legal luminary by Chijoke. You are now entitled to a radio, a man being over 80, and you are still intellectually active, and you are part of the crusade. I can never forget the last edition where you were one of those who suggested that we will march to Abuja, even though that we have not consummated that. I will use this opportunity now to announce the winner of the radio, Mr. Ngene. I don't know how a first timer have now succeeded in overtaking us, and Mr. Ngene, congratulations, you are a winner of our digital radio, and you can send somebody to our office in Movers. You and Barrister Bechi, you are winners. So you give somebody a note so that he can come, and we present him with one of the most modern digital radio that you can use and do so many things. Thank you. This court will now rise.